What is going on, everybody? I am Delusions, and today we are not playing on Delusions. We're actually playing on a good buddy of mine's account here, and he is an AGI War Mage, or Dark Wizard if we're talking base classes. So it's been a while since I've did an updated video on this class, and it was one that I've started to see a lot more pick up in the arena, as well as in some of the higher tier arena matches as well for other servers, so I wanted to talk briefly on it and kind of give everybody an updated guide on how we built this class, as well as what you should be prioritizing going into making your own. So if we look over at his stats, I mean, he's got everything just how he needs it to be able to pick up all the skills that are offered on the E&E side, as well as get all of his AGI skills, and then his just base, what he needs to be able to equip his gear. Um, but once we start looking into some of his attacks and everything, of course, AGI Wizards is not known for their attack speed, but it is that poison damage that is really going to really ramp this class up and be able to provide high damage numbers. So outside of PvP, still does great damage, but in PvP is where it really shines. I think that's because, it's got high survivability. It actually has a revive that you get for free, so long as you've gone through so much of the property trees, which we'll touch on that here in just a second. Um, but any little thing revolving around poison is going to be fantastic for this class. There's so many different ways to build this out to be really good in PvE as well as PvP. This one here, we have decided that we wanted to go through and just do a pure PvP build, and we wanted to make it as, as tanky as possible, but as well as being able to provide high damage numbers. So when we go in here and we're starting to look at some of his skills, so again, like I was saying before, we wanted to be able to have enough points in there to where we could pick up all the skills. So nothing super out of the normal here. Again, we're not prioritizing these PvE skills that really don't activate all that much in PvP anyways. So we've opted to leave Hellfire and Evil Spirit as well as Aqua Flash pretty much untouched. Um, but as we continue on down here, you'll start to see a little bit more. Yeah, we could have gone in and put some more points into Explosion, but this skill itself already does so much damage um, that you really don't need a whole lot more. Now, once we hit over into the 600 levels, which I believe he's got, just shy of 80 levels, so 76 levels before he gets to cross over into that threshold, then we can start talking about going through and acquiring some more skill orbs so that we can get this leveled up, as well as finishing out Hellburst. Um, but I think that the way that we've got this set up is just perfect, and it's able to hold its own in final arenas and in regular arenas, as well as Chrysos and Chaos Castle and everything like that, and still provide good placement as far as the standings and rankings go. Um, when we start looking into how he's got his skill bar set up, primarily if you're outside of any kind of PvP, this is what you're going to be using 99% of the time, and it's just basic skills. All right, so the good thing about AGI Dark Wizard or his War Mage um, is that most of the skills will trigger in the background and are all automatic. So there's really not a whole lot of button mashing that needs to go on. So you could really honestly throw anything that you wanted in here, but it's nice to have some of these defensive as far as like illusion, as well as this soul barrier, just to kind of get you a little added protection if you're out in Chrysos or something and you don't want to run your battle mode because you're trying to take down these different bosses or scorpions or whatever. But once we switch over into battle mode, so you'll notice that when we first start off on our slot one, these are our main kind of setup and get ready to rumble skills. So he's got it in sequence here. So we'll start off with ice sealing. We'll make sure that we're knocking that out just as fast as we can, and we're triggering it on cooldown. And then we'll do switching because again, a lot of these skills, even in battle mode, are going to be triggering in the background. So we'll do switching. We'll allow that to kind of do its thing for a minute, and once we start taking damage a little bit, then we'll switch over and we'll teleport. And then as everything is starting to ramp up, then we'll final it all up with a hell burst. And then if need be, we can swap over and we can start using our poison spear, our poison swarm. We can throw curse down to give them a, kind of root them in place for a minute. Um, but yeah, I think that the way that he's got this set up is just fantastic. And when we start diving over into the properties, what I always tell anybody that's trying to run any kind of PvP class, or that's what they want to do, is they only want to do arenas, they only want to do Chaos Castle and Castle Siege and anything where they can get some good character to character combat, is always start with the defense tree. Max it out as much as you can before you start moving over into the attack, because if you have just these ungodly attacks, but you have no defense, well, you may not even get the opportunity to use any of those attacks, because a lot of these guys that are running into these PvP arenas are critting for, 10, 20, 30 million above your health. So, it's easy to get knocked out when you could have reinvested those points into somewhere else that would have made a bigger difference. So, if you remember earlier, I was talking about they actually get a free get out of jail free card, with that being Death Angel. So, what this does is it actually allows you to be saved. So if somebody deals a killing blow to you that would normally kill you, this is going to throw you into almost a suspend state to where you don't take any damage for a short second. Um, and then it'll actually revive you, give you 50% of your HP, and your soul barrier will be destroyed upon that, because typically throughout any kind of PvP engagement, your soul barrier in is going to be active. It's going to be up and running for the duration of that first round. And this is specifically going into arena talk. So it's going to be available in that first round. It's going to carry you through until this would trigger, and then upon this triggering, then it's up to you to work your magic to kind of get you out of that tight spot. But having this has made a huge difference for not only him, but so many AGI wizards out there. Um, and not to mention, some of the other survivability that comes along with this, that you may or may not notice as you're building this tree out. Um, but if you find yourself, later on down the road, it's like, man, I'm still dying so much. Like, what can I do? Is you can hop over into the common property, um, and I would say, um, try and pick up probably this one right here, and just max it out. Because I mean, negating 15% skill damage, which, the majority of the classes, they all use skills, unless you're going up against, a DK whose reflect is just going to, just keep you in the fight 1,000 times longer. This right here will make you a little bit more tankier. But again, going back to priority list, I would want to recommend everybody start out with the defense tree. Go ahead and max that out, and then when you're transitioning over into the attack tree, um, it's real easy to turn around and try and just level them all evenly. And in some cases, that works out really well. And you're able to really benefit off of that in the earlier stages of the game where, everybody's not, just been and power hungry, and they're wanting to really get their CP up there and make a name for themselves. But in this case, since he is, I want to say, let's take a look. So he is roughly about 60 to 64 levels lower than I am, um, it makes things a little bit harder. But going back to priority, we want to focus on the best plan of attack when we're going through and upgrading this. So I highly recommend sticking to the right side of the attack tree, as well as the middles, and leveling that before you start jumping over into this left side. Because the left side, yes, it does offer some beneficial stuff. Um, but typically, this is going to be more for your little elemental companion that's going to be following you around. Yes, it does do damage, and it can save you from time to time. But when we're talking, I need this now, I want to be strong now, then focus on the right side. Um, Other than that, as far as the commentary goes, yeah, we could go through and pick some of these things up later on in the game. But for now, I think that he's got his built out pretty good. If we hop over into the arena standings, again, keep in mind he is 124, level 124, and we are going through and trying to figure out, how he's going to play an arena. So he's gone through and done his runs, and it is actually in rank 4 for right now. So if you had concerns about the level gap, this should tell you something right here, because obviously, if he's that low as far as level goes and CP goes, then you could probably do just as good with this class. And I think that you should give it a shot if you do plan on trying it. But with that, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. Let me know what's going on with your builds. Maybe I can help. But I am Delusions, and I am out. Take care.